Hello, my name is Shirley France, and I am a parishioner at Our Lady Lourdes Catholic Church in Marysville, Ohio. I'm also a Benedictine Oblate with Monastery Immaculate Conception in Ferdinand, Indiana. And I'm here for the final session of Silence and Contemplation. How in the world can we reconcile silence and contemplation on Easter Sunday? Good grief, he's alive. It's all about the good news. But actually, we can. We can reconcile them. So today we're going to talk about, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. How do we reconcile the resurrection of Christ and silence and contemplation as we go about our daily lives during this very critical and sometimes fearful times? So first of all, we talked about that our mission is to know Him, to love Him, and serve Him. We also talked about how in the world can we know Him if we don't spend time with Him? And so what I want to share with you is that don't be so hard on yourself. If this seems challenging, it is sometimes challenging because it's so simple, it's sometimes hard. But what the key is to keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep surrendering, giving your consent with that sacred word. And it's the discipline and the consistency over time that'll really reap you the benefits you're looking for. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, we will exercise a spiritual muscle that will continue to grow. We can't just cut back on calories on one meal and expect to lose weight, just like we can't go to the gym one time and expect to build muscles. It's something that we commit to over time, all right? The second thing is that what's really challenging right now is that we are consumed with news. Our day revolves around how people are doing, the spread of the virus. And so how do we channel our thoughts to be not in fear, not in anxiety? So what we do is we surrender the moments of our lives. Our thoughts have to be surrendered. And when we find ourselves getting overwhelmed, go to the silence with the Lord. You don't have to be in a specific prayer time, but we certainly have the opportunity to channel our thoughts. And when we find them just running away with us and our anxiety and our fears starting to grow, let's go back to our sacred word and just close your eyes for a minute and go there. That's what we can do. We can leverage our practice. I love this old gospel hymn that we learned when my husband and I lived in Kentucky. We have to turn our radio on to listen with God. So there's this old song called Turn Your Radio On. It goes like this. Turn your radio on and listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on and the glory we will share. Turn the lights down low. Listen to the song on the radio. Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on. I love that. And that speaks to us, just show up. Just keep showing up for the presence of God. But He is the I am. Not I was, not I will be. I am. The third thing is we want to know Him, love Him, and serve Him. So how does that work right now when we have all this social distancing? And how does that reconcile with our silence and contemplation? Well, you know what? St. Francis had it all along. He said, proclaim the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. So as we share our practice with other people, which we can do, how we can find peace, how we can find comfort in the moments of our lives when there is so much else going around us. Maybe we do that through a phone call. Maybe we do it through a special note. Maybe we even offer up special prayers and special intentions for people. That's how we serve Him right now, and by abiding by the guidelines so we don't spread the virus and we don't receive the virus. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't really meet an expectation you have about what should happen during your prayer time. We're not to judge our prayer time. We're not to judge ourselves at all, but we just continue to show up, and we trust the power of the Holy Spirit to work in us as He chooses. Several friends and I were planning a trip to Gethsemane Monastery in Kentucky. And so I thought I'd look on the website to kind of get a sense of it before we left. And the abbot had a little question and answer period with a reporter, I guess. And the reporter asked, "What do you do at this monastery?" And the abbot says, "The best we can." And I loved it because that's all God asks us to do, the best we can. Once I was on a business trip to Phoenix, and on my way back to Ohio, I sat next to a woman, an elderly woman who was a Native American Indian. We had a great conversation, and she was just a beautiful person and shared with me about her extraordinary life. And then at the end of her story, she says, "So how much of Phoenix did you see while you were here?" And I said, "Well, all I saw was the inside of a conference room." And I could see actually the blood coming to her face. She became very angry. And she said, "Shame on you. You were given the opportunity to see our beautiful Phoenix, and you didn't see one thing outside of that conference room." You know, shame on us if we miss the ordinary moments of our lives, those sacred moments where God is, because we're waiting for the virus to be over. We don't need to wait. God is always present. He's just waiting for us to show up. And so my prayer for all of us is that we will take advantage of the ordinary moments of our lives in which we find ourselves, because that's where we live and God is always present. I wanted to share with you a little excerpt from a teaching we had at our monastery that was given by Sister Marianne Verkamp, and it goes like this. Some people consider silence as the absence of noise, just as some people consider peace as the absence of war. There is much more involved. Silence draws us out of our own little world and calls us toward the invisible. Silence is never an end of itself, but opens the door to mystery. Entering into silence helps us discover our real identity. Silence is the glue that connects our attitudes and actions. Silence is not absence, but the awareness of the presence of God. Why practice silence? It is the first and the most important step of our spiritual journey, because it allows us to bring the light of day all the unnecessary junk we have stored in our minds. When we bring these to light, they lose their power over us. God is gracious. He wants to teach us. He wants us just to be drawn to himself, especially on this beautiful Easter Sunday. He's alive, and he's alive in every moment of the lives that he's given us, even now in this environment. So thank you for the opportunity to share some ideas of teachings that I've been taught that have been powerful in my life. And I pray by God's grace they'll be powerful in yours. And remember what God always says to us: be still and know that I am God. Blessings on your Easter Sunday.